What up, party people? Yes, sir. We're about to rise family system. We are talking about relationship systems. Now, I have to preface this entire episode by saying this. I do not have the ideal marriage. I do not have the ideal relationship. I do not have all relationship systems in place. Listen, my family did a pretty good job of legacy. We got a trust with the family ownership of two properties in Miami. It came from my grandmother and grandfather. Two properties in King Street, South Carolina. It also came from my grandmother and my grandfather. Two properties in North Carolina that really were focused around my mother and my dad. And New York was part of the legacy that we decided was not going to be part of us going on. So with all that being said, my family is doing pretty good. I got no beef between me or my siblings. My children don't have any beef. They're not struggling to get along. They're not struggling to stay free like some people can't keep their kids free. You feel me? Like, my kids ain't worried about where their next meal coming from. So I can say my family system works. I can say my financial system works, even though we got a lot of room to grow. I can say the legacy system is working and still under construction. But the relationship system, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to be more emotionally intelligent. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to do more in an effort to have a stronger relationship. But at the end of the day, I would be the first to say that my relationship is not the ideal one that you want to post up and say this is what a relationship should look like. It's not that. When we were doing Decades In, and one of my friends actually said, well, I don't have the ideal relationship like you and your wife. I'm like, bro, what show are you watching? We go weeks at a time where we've hardly even talking. And that's not, I'm not saying that to brag because that's not good. But I'm saying that because we are not perfect. And I don't have the perfect relationship, nor do I have the perfect system. But I've been married for 23 years, and I know that it takes work, and we've been working. So I am going to talk about a relationship system. I guess you would consider it the construction site, right? We still building. I'm on the construction site with this relationship, 23 years deep, and the foundation is fairly solid, but the building is not up. The construction is still underway. And it's hard to admit that after 23 years, we still figuring it out, but absolutely after 23 years, we are still trying to figure it out. So this episode, relationship systems, man, listen, my wife and I wrote a book, a whole book. 4 years ago it was completed. Never released it, because honestly, kind of feel like a hypocrite dropping that book. Kind of feel like, everything in this book is peaches and cream, even though it does reveal some stuff. It reveals a lot about my wife and our relationship. But because we're still evolving, it's hard to release Love Evolved as if we've already gotten there. The fact of the matter is, our relationship is constantly evolving. Our relationship is definitely a work in progress. And honestly, it may probably always be that way, right? But the book didn't drop. I dropped a whole another book, When Did a Nigga Arrive? On sale at Amazon.com. Go check me out. Amazon.com. When Did a Nigga Arrive? An exclusive look about the unique nuances between Afrocentrism and Eurocentrism. Check it out on Amazon. But yeah, I definitely push my energy into something else, as I often do, because every time I looked at or thought about, I just need to critique a little bit. I just need to update and edit a little bit. I just need to add a little bit more. I don't know if I should say this. Every time I looked at Love Evolved, the book that my wife and I wrote together, it was always a matter of, I don't feel like it's ready, you know? because at the end of the day, I didn't feel like my marriage was representative or represented something I want to put out there and be like, this is what you should do. Because I come home and I got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff that don't make me happy and likely doesn't make my wife happy either. So if I'm sitting in a relationship that may not necessarily be happy, who the heck am I to be writing a whole book to tell you? But at the end of the day, I realize I am 23 years deep. There are things about my relationship that do work. And when I sit back and reflect on them, I think I can do a fairly decent job of putting together a book. Not only a book, but at least a system and a podcast episode that really explains how we can look at this relationship, be emotionally mature enough to follow this structure, to know if we good, if we need to stay together, not stay together. And you can use this to know if you're in a solid relationship. This system will let you know if you're in a solid relationship. The truth is, when I first got married and a long time after, I didn't even know what a good relationship looked like, to be honest. I thought I knew what a good relationship looked like. But at the end of the day, all I really knew was what I saw with moms and pops. And moms and pops, I thought I had a decent relationship. The biggest thing that bothered me about moms and pops is moms took up vacations by herself because pops never wanted to. And that worked for them, but I was like, wow, that's kind of weird, dude. Like, that's kind of like, I don't want to be in a relationship where I don't even want to go on vacation with my wife. And I don't even know if it was about my dad not wanting to go, but I think he was like that old school Southerner that only like to go where he was comfortable. He didn't want to go nowhere new because, to be perfectly honest, when I reflect on it, in the South, you grow a lot of fear, right? You don't want to go in somewhere where you're not wanted and where things can get ugly with those people who don't want you, right? My dad, and I don't want to say he feared others, but he probably, like me, feared who he would become if he was faced with that situation, especially if his family's there. He only vacationed in Miami, where we got family, and South Carolina, where we got family, state of New York for most of his vacations. And if he's feeling really, really saucy, he'll go out to Alabama where my mom's is from, you know? Coming up, I wanted something different than what my parents had. And I had my opinion on what it should look like, right? And I just knew I would be the perfect husband for somebody. I would be able to connect with them in a way, make them feel loved and respected in a way that just made them want to shower me with love and affection. But I didn't know how to be that dude, to be honest with you. What the crazy part is that every person you with, you're going to have to really learn that person to figure out how you can be that dude or that woman for that person, right? The way I treat my wife is unlike I treat anybody else in this world. You got it messed up if you think you can just treat your significant other the same way you treat everybody else in the world. You got it real messed up, right? One of the best and my favorite Destiny Child songs was "Cater to You." Every man wants a woman who can cater to you, and guess what? Every woman wants a man who caters to them, right? When you say to your wife or say to your husband, "Do you love me?" You don't want to just say, "I love all women," or "I love all men." That's crazy, right? You want a love that is specifically designed for you. And today, we're going to talk about what kind of systems you need in order to create that love that's specifically designed for that one partner. Because for a long time, I thought my problem was I just didn't have the right answers to be able to grow inside of a marriage, right? I thought that I just didn't know what it looked like, or even more really to the point, I thought something was wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she is tripping about everything. She don't see the way I'm trying to give her this love, and she should see the way I'm giving her this love. She should be turning around and giving it to me in the way I want it. But that's not how things work. How things really work is you gotta really be able to listen, right? You gotta be able to connect and listen to your significant other and figure out how they want to be loved, right? And this is beyond just love language, which is important. We can do a whole episode on what is your love language, whether your love language is touch, time, gift, whatever the love language may be. We can spend a whole episode on that, but this goes beyond just love language. This is more into what makes you who you are, and how do I identify the things that make you who you are. Like, I know your childhood so good. I know your childhood so good and I know how you became the person that you are. And because I know those things, I may not come at you as blunt as I would somebody else because I know your sensitivity, right? That is, and just knowing that person and being on a constant mission, a daily mission to know them better, not just assuming you already know them, right? Because honestly, if you were somebody who is the same person that you married 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, then that's a problem. We all should be growing, right? We all should be turning into different people, right? You can love somebody so incredibly deeply and not know how to love them well. That's the scary part. Because we all think we doing it right. We loving them right. We doing everything we can for. But have you taken the time to really know how this person wants to be loved? So some of y'all might ask, why even go and do an episode if you ain't got the system? Now, I'm not saying that I don't have the system. I do believe I know what the foundational relationship system is. I'm just saying that I haven't perfected it. At the end of the day, you are invited in this episode to the Pendergrass construction site, the relationship construction site, where I'm building and still trying to, and I don't know if it will ever be perfect, but I'm still trying to create the type of love that I want my daughter to see, my daughters to see, that I want my sons to see, so that when they get their relationship, they can know how to love and know how to be loved and know what it looks like. So here, I'm inviting everybody to the construction site, right? And if I'm honest, some of the things in this construction site, I'm absolutely, positively tearing down. I'm tearing down some of my beliefs. I'm tearing down some of my expectations and what I believe my wife should do for me. I'm tearing down some of my behaviors as far as what I do. I'm tearing down my patterns, some of the ways I thought about leadership, some of the ways I thought about how to be a husband. I'm tearing down things I expected my wife to do without fully understanding what I was responsible for, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm the only person responsible for my actions. I can't say they made me do anything if I'm a man of intelligence, of emotional intelligence. I can't say they made me do anything, right? I'm responsible for my reaction to each and every situation that I'm in because I'm the only common denominator to each and every situation I'm in. So I'm at the point where I take responsibility for my actions and reactions. And so that's what I consider evolving. The way I understand my wife has to evolve. The way she understands me has to evolve. The way we communicate has to evolve. The way we fight has to evolve. The way we experience intimacy has to evolve. The way we serve each other has to evolve. The way I lead my family has to evolve. Because what worked when I was 27 years old and got married, it's not going to work at 50 plus, 50 years old, 23 years later. That's not going to work. Why? Because I'm not the same person. She's not the same person. If you were married to somebody for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and that's the same exact person you married 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, there's a problem. When you're growing, you evolve. Your relationship should evolve. Right? And so on the construction site, I'm tearing down things, building things, because I'm working with the evolution of our relationship. I'm not bringing you no perfect marriage with this podcast. I'm bringing you a real one, the unfinished one, the uncomfortable one, right? The one that survived by the grace of God. Because through him and because of him is the only reason I still have a marriage. If it wasn't for him, I know for sure this thing would have been long gone a long time ago. I'd be somewhere in Detroit, burning one down and doing all kinds of sorts of things that ain't in the Bible. For sure. Like this relationship, a marriage, any marriage, but the one I'm in for sure, has required more work than I ever thought any relationship would ever require. And so I'm finally learning how to build my relationship intentionally. Believe me, this is not me teaching you from the mountaintop. This is just me talking to you from the construction site, where I'm still building. This is my confession. I am absolutely positively got a lot to confess. I got 3 major ones that I want to confess to you right here, right now. The first confession about relationships, and my relationship in particular, is that I have spent a whole lot of time questioning God, wondering, WTF am I doing here? Like, is this really what you got for me, God? Like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, WTF, I don't understand, God. Why would you if you love me, why would you put me through this in this relationship? I've been there many times. I stay there a lot. And in my 23 years of marriage, I have been there on and off, oh yeah, hundreds of times with God, on my knees, trying to figure out why, Lord, would you deliver this relationship to me? I'm sure my wife has been there too, but I'm just saying, it's crazy the way you think a relationship's supposed to go and the way it actually goes. So after maturing from that 27-year-old young man to this 50-year-old man, I know I understand myself differently. I understand women differently. I understand how men act differently. I understand responsibility differently. I understand leadership differently. I understand sex differently. I understand emotional intimacy differently. I understand what it means to be a provider differently. And at the end of the day, I understand what it means to be a husband differently. Like, me and my wife went into this relationship, this covenant, not even knowing what a covenant truly actually meant. But here we are 23 years later with a better, deeper understanding. The hard realization is that some of the things that we thought when we first started this relationship may have actually been evidence that we never, ever, like, intentionally built this relationship. In other words, we thought one thing, and we thought the relationship was going to be one way. But as we got older, we realized that if we're going to have that, there's a level of work that it takes to get there. And it's not just going to happen because we think it should happen. It's going to happen because we lay down a plan to make it happen. And thinking that relationships are going to be hokey-dory, everything's going to be happy. No, it don't work like that. It takes work. And we're going to give you the game plan on how to work it out in just a second. Stay tuned. I promise you, you need this information. We're going to get to it. Before we go there, I want to say this. I think I said it already, but relationships don't work, right? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, that's just how I am. Or that's just how she is. Or that's just how he is, right? That's the easy thing to do, right? But there's no growth in that. In just staying or stating that, oh, that's just who I am. What we need to get to is, what can I do? Or what can I contribute? Or how can I help create in my husband, create in my wife, the things I want to see in my husband and my wife, right? Instead of me saying, oh, she just like that. I'm gonna give it for instance. My wife wants to go out to an event that's really important to her. I guess it's a family event where she has to, be gone for a couple of days. I don't want her to go. So my natural reaction is, because I'm a protector, my natural reaction is, I can't go. I gotta work, so you can't go. That's my natural reaction. It's easy for me to say, well, that's just me. I'm a protector. I don't like her going out if I can't be there to protect her. But what the growth and the maturity comes in is that I know how important this is to her. I know how important foundationally family is to her. And I know how, if she did go, how fulfilled she would feel, as opposed to her not going, and how empty she would feel. So I'm going to sacrifice my emotions and feelings to feel like I need to protect her, I need to be there. And to sacrifice that to say, all right, babe, if you really want to go, but just make sure you call me when you get there, or just check in, or maybe even put on your GPS so I can see where you at, right? Whatever compromise you need to make, do that. Like, relationships are all about compromise. You should be constantly compromising in a relationship, because if it's always been to the will of the other, eventually somebody's going to break, and that can be ugly. So at the end of the day, what I really want for myself, and what we all should be looking for, is a sense of pride, but like a good sense of pride, not a selfish pride, but a pride of, I'm proud of the fact that I do every single thing in my power to please my significant other. That's what we should all be searching for, that we are doing everything in our power to help this relation. It's not just like, I tried, all right? Try should be a curse word, to be perfectly honest. Because all tried is saying, you made an attempt, you failed, and because you failed, you're giving yourself the excuse not to try it anymore, right? If you really want to do it, you make a decision. And a decision cuts you off from everything that is not absolutely what you want, right? So I make a decision to not smoke cigarettes. I try to not smoke cigarettes. Two different things, right? You make a decision to not smoke cigarettes, you not smoke. You try to not smoke cigarettes. I stopped for a couple of days. Now I'm smoking again, right? It's a difference. The language, it has a whole different feeling, the decision and trying, right? In our relationships, we need to make decisions. Ain't no trying in a relationship. You either are or you're not, right? So it's important that we do everything in our power, that we can feel a sense of pride that we've done everything in our power our spouse. That might sound a little crazy to some of you, but if you're not doing it, you're not serious about your relationship. All right, here's my second confession. I confess that for a long time, forever, really, right? I've always known what I wanted from my wife, but just because I knew what I wanted from my wife, I never knew who I needed to be to have my wife give me what I wanted from her, if that makes sense. Let me break this down. We all want things from our significant other. And guess what? We can all have all of the things we want from our significant other. The question becomes, who do I have to be in order to draw, to pull, to get my significant other to be the person I want them to be, so they will do the things I want them to do? And I know it's a different way of thinking about relationships, but I absolutely believe it is to be true. If you become the wife or the husband that your spouse is looking for you to be, then your spouse will become the person that you want them to be. And so the second confession is deep because the second confession really admits that I was never a good husband, because I was never consciously thinking about what I needed to do to produce the wife that I wanted to have. And so when I realized that it was all my fault, that was a little hard, because I spent a whole lot of time blaming, right? Pointing the finger. Knowing I was upstanding, perfect, and good in this relationship, but not really. Not really. When I really reflected, I was able to see that it's not all about me, you know? I had expectations, I had standards, I had desires, I had this picture, right, in my head of what the perfect relationship was, but I never really understood what the system had to be, what the system required, right, to create the kind of marriage where both of us could actually flourish, right? And so, once again, I need you to hold off. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to these systems, right? But there is a system that can be used in order for you to become the person that you need to be in order to get your spouse to become the person you want them to be, right? And so I'm still learning. I'm not finished. This is still the construction site, right? I'm still building a great marriage. And that's why the book is not necessarily out yet, because it has to include this system, right? Because at the end of the day, we all, you don't get married because you don't love the other person, right? So we all marry a person we love, but we sometimes use the word love a little too lightly, because love is a skill. Love is communication, love is dedication, love is sacrifice, and love is definitely sexual intimacy. Gotta get that freak on. But love is also friendship. Are you still friends with your partner? Love is emotional safety. Do you make your significant other feel emotionally safe? I know when I was young, I wasn't even on my radar. Emotionally safe? What? I'm going to talk the way I talk the way when I talk, right? But I learned that the way I speak to my wife has a lot to do with her ability to feel emotionally safe. I blamed a lot of it. I'm just from New York. That's how we talk. But I had to grow. I had to evolve. Right? Love is service. service was just for the church. But love is service. You gotta be able to serve your partner. Love is accountability. You gotta be able to hold yourself accountable if you are truly in love and not just always point the finger. Love is learning the person that you married is not the person that you have today. Being able to evolve and grow with that partner, right? So there's just, I know you're ready. You're ready to get to these 4 things, right? But I got another confession. Sometimes I wish I can do a lot of this again. That's my last confession. My last confession is I really wish a lot of times I can just go through it all over again and have the understanding and the knowledge that I have now. Because, you can't put the china back together. You can't put after you break and shatter things, and you can't put those things back together. Really, all the things that I've broken and destroyed over the years, all I can do is clean it up, hopefully put it in the recycling bin, and hopefully it comes up with something pretty, but at the end of the day, the damage is done. The emotional, verbal confrontation and borderline abuse that I can do. I got a sharp tongue. And that goes with my wife, with my family, with my kids. I had to learn how to be a better version of myself. Because of that, a lot of times I wish I could do it all over again, right? I wish I could have a son who was born under the new me, right? To really show him the spectrum of emotions that a real man has and be able to articulate a lot of those things. I remember I was in New York. I was a security guard in this based on income apartment building, right? And they used to call me the rapping security guard because everybody know when I was in New York, that's what we did. We was Black Wall Street. Before we were Black Wall Street, we were the Man Shoes. Before we were the Man Shoes, we were Too Deep. But I was rapping from the time, I was like a senior in high school to the time I left New York. And so, they used to call me the rapping security guard. And I was reflecting one day because, one day we were battling or whatever. And this dude said, there's one line that stuck with me 20, 30 years later. He said, you claim you guard body, but tell me why God didn't guard your body when I came through with the shotty. And it's like, I thought that line was hard, right? I think that line was hard as hell, right? But as I reflect on it, not only that I think the line was hard, I realized I didn't have an answer for it. I didn't have any real foundational principles that I can say I base my life on. I do now, right? But when you raising children and trying to figure it out, and you ain't got no foundational principles to really base your life on, then it's like, what are you really doing? You just surviving. Now I'm at a point where I'm beyond just surviving. I'm ready to thrive. So sometimes, I wish I can do it all again and raise a son in a thriving environment. But I got a 2-year-old daughter. God did give me a do-over. She'll be 2 in a couple of days. And I'm able to really cultivate the relationship. And that's daddy's baby. I love all my children. I love all of my children. I just really wish I were able to give all of them from the seedling point the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding I have now, right? Biblical, foundational understanding, right? I wish I had the opportunity to just build them differently, to be more intentional, to recognize things sooner, to teach them differently, communicate differently. Like I said, I can be very sharp with the tongue. I know I've done a lot of damage with that. To prepare them for manhood, differently. But I realized something. A desire to have a son, it's not just a desire to have a son, it's also, it's me grieving the man that I was, right? I'm not that same person anymore. And the person that I was when I got married, the person's dead. There's no bringing them back. I am a new person. Granted, there are pieces of that person that's still me, right? But that desire to have a son now is really just me grieving the man I was and embracing the man I am. And so, yeah, I just pour into my daughter. I really love pouring into my daughter, because when I think about who I was, you know, who I thought I was confident, I thought I had mad options, I thought I had plans, I thought I understood women, I thought I understood leadership, I thought I understood marriage, but at the end of the day, I didn't have a good understanding of any of it. I didn't even know what a covenant is. How can I say I understood marriage? You know? But I have all those understandings now. And so at this point in my life, when responsibilities come, when money comes, when stress comes, when, you know, all that stuff, when all the things this world has to offer comes, I can react to it all through my faith, through my biblical foundational principles, right? Marriage doesn't just require love, it requires development. And sometimes I wish I can go back, but I know I can't. And I'll be going back not to erase everything, not to rewrite everything, but just to bring the wisdom I currently have now to the decisions I made then. But I know I can't, you know? So the only thing I can do is take all that I've learned and build differently now. That's why I have these 4 pieces to the relationship system. But before I give you these 4 pieces, I want to give you a realization that I had. Doing this reflection, I realized that what men say they want and what they are really hungry for, 2 different things. And I know this might piss some people off. And D1, hear me out. D1's a good person. He adopted my classroom. I think I figured some things out. I think I figured out why Atlanta has so many strip clubs, and those strip clubs are so popular. I think I figured some things out. Hear me out now. I spend a lot of time thinking about certain things, right? And why certain things depend to men's sexuality. Now, I'm not going to sit here, speak for all black men, speak for all men in general. I can speak for myself, but I know there's other people who might see some truth in this, right? The reason why strip clubs are so attractive to men is the fantasy. It's absolutely, positively the most powerful thing about the strip club is the fantasy. I'm not saying it's not about sex, because sex is important. The part I'm really focused on, I'm gonna get to the sex in a second, but the part I'm really focused on is the attention, right? All men want to be the center of attention, right? There are far too many households, far too many marriages where a man will come home and is not the center of attention. Every man, ideally in a perfect world, wants to come home, wants their wife to love upon him. Oh, baby, every man wants the attention, right? From their family, from their wife, they want the attention. It feels really empty after you work for 5, 10, 15 hours, however long you've worked, and you come home and it's empty, even though it's full. There are 5 people in the house, in 5 different rooms, and none of them care at all that you got home, unless you were supposed to bring some food or something home. That's the only reason they care. Right? That's an empty feeling when that's the case. No one cares that you're home unless you're bringing them something. They're not feeding anything into you. But the strip club, that's a different story, right? The strip club is a different story. Listen, I get it. She wants the dollars. She wants you to make it rain. I get that. We all get that. We all know that. We accept that, right? But what I'm talking about is the ability to be in that club, sip a little beverage, and have that woman look deep into your eyes and seductively look at you like there is nobody else in the room. That right there, oh yeah, that right there is the reason we go to the strip club. We want that moment where this one individual is looking at me and wants me to look at her. Right? I know she want me to throw dollars. In Atlanta especially. You don't play with no cheap Negroes out there. But the feeling of being wanted and being the center of attention. Oh yeah, D1. It's not all sex, but then I'm gonna get to the sex part in a second. But it's not all sex, it's the fantasy of having one woman put all their attention on you. Especially when you are working hard for a whole family who can give a damn if you come home. That's real stuff, man. We know that stripper doesn't actually want you, they want the money, but it's the fantasy. And then there's the other fantasy about the high-end escort, right? Once again, I'm talking about the fantasy, not the reality of the profession. I know the reality of the profession is ugly. I get it. I'm not talking about the ugliness of pimping and all that stuff. I'm talking about the fantasy of a high-end escort. What if a woman whose entire experience with me is built on me and making me feel valued, making me feel desired, making me feel entertained, making me feel cared for, making me feel prioritized? What? That fantasy right there is the reason why strip clubs and escorts likely will always, in some shape, form, or fashion, exist unless we can give systems to every single household. Because at the end of the day, every man wants to feel valued, every man wants to feel desired, and when you are not getting those feelings from your home, you are going to look elsewhere to find that feeling. Right? Feeling wanted, feeling prioritized, feeling admired, feeling catered to. That feeling right there, you get genuinely excited about seeing me. That is everything. That's when the conversation becomes a little more personal for me. Because ideally, a lot of men want to become successful enough to provide for their woman. If that woman genuinely pours back into them. In other words, most men would have no problem if financially they can make enough money, even if it means working super duper hard. But most men will have no problem working super duper hard if they knew that the woman at home was going to pour into them on a daily basis, was going to make them feel like a man on a daily basis. If they knew that was the case, most men would have no problem paying all the bills, taking care of everything. Men I'm talking about. The issue is a lot of y'all messing with little boys who ain't never grow up. But men would have no problem taking care of everything, if they knew they had a woman at home who will pour into them and make them feel wanted, attracted, prioritized, catered to. Oh my God. Oh my God. Everybody wants to matter. The woman wants to matter. And men, we want to matter too. A confident woman, an emotionally mature woman, she can tell a man when he's wrong without making him feel worthless. Right? So I can be the man taking care of all the bills, everything. You can be the stay-at-home wife who takes care of the household, and I can be perfectly happy with that. If I feel like you're going to pour into me, I feel like you're going to correct me without making me feel worthless. If that woman is confident enough to remind me of my responsibilities without emasculating me, I can continue doing everything for that woman. A woman who knows her own worth doesn't need to diminish me or my worth, right? A woman who can be sexually expressive, tantalizing like that stripper with her husband, who can nurture the home, make him feel wanted, challenge him, pray for him, respect him, and look him and say, I choose you? I choose you? That's so powerful, right? What's one of the most used words during sex? This is yours, right? This is yours. Every man want to know whose is this, right? It's because there's a level of healthy pride that you have, knowing that you have done everything for this woman, and this woman submits to you and say, this is yours, I choose you. Oh, that's so powerful. And many women don't realize how powerful that is. So if you want to keep us out of the strip club, if you want to keep us away from all the strippers and the high-end escorts, value your man, cater to your man. So that realization is focused on what men want, right? And I'm sure there's women out there who are like, and what about what a woman wants? And yeah, I get it. I get it. So when I had this realization, God put it on me like, yeah, you have all these desires, but what are you doing that makes a woman want to treat you like this? That makes a woman want to greet you at the door when you come home? That makes a woman want to prioritize you and cater to you? What do you do? Really? Other than go to work, what do you do to make a woman want to feel like that? Do you make your woman feel desired? Do you make her feel like she's the only desire you have? Or do you look at everybody's ass when they walk past? Do you constantly watch porn? Do you constantly do things that make her feel undesired? Do you prioritize her? Do you make her experience in life make her feel like she's the number one person, like she's on a pedestal amongst all other women? Do you purposely make her feel like you hold her in the highest regard? If you want her to respect your leadership, does your leadership make her feel safe? The way you speak to her, does that make her feel safe? The way you run this family, does it make her feel safe? What are you doing to make her feel safe? And is the way that you're doing it actually making her feel safe? If you want her to cater to you, how much of your life, Marvin, is organized around her? How are you making her feel like she's being catered to? If you want her to experience you emotionally and sexually, how emotionally mature are you personally? How are you catering to all of her sexual desires? And I have to have some real honest reflection. If I want her to choose me every day, how am I showing her that I choose her every day? And when I really sat back and really honestly listened to those questions, everything hit different. Because now, I'm no longer just saying what I want. I'm asking myself the real question, what am I doing to produce in my partner what it is that I want? All right, here we go. Everybody been waiting this whole episode to figure, what does a system do? The show's supposed to be about systems. You ain't talking about their system yet. I got you. Now granted, we are pretty far into the episode. So I am going to have to do a part two. But before I do the part two, I'm going to at least introduce the system, right? There are 4 parts to the system. Number 1, connect. Do you even connect to your partner? Have you ever connected to your partner? Or is connection just about sex for you? Because connection should be more than just sex, right? Connection means that I kind of feel like you understand me, and you kind of feel like I understand you. So now we can move to the next part where we get deeper into our connection by really communicating. We get to really know who one another is and are. Now, connection can be physical. I can be physically attracted to this person. But we all know that physical attraction is only skin deep. No relationship can be based upon that physical attraction. That's not going to last. Especially considering the fact that we all change over the years. But the communication portion, the really, really know me and you, I really, really know you, well that's the hook. Not only are we connecting because we have some similar things that we are feeling between one another, but now we can communicate in a way that allows me to feel heard, right? Seen, right? I know that partner listens to me and understands me and sees me for who I am. There's not many people in the world that we can say that about. But our significant other has to be one of the people who we should be able to say that about. So if you can connect and you can communicate, now you're ready for the hard part. The hard part is correction. I have this person who I'm feeling I'm connected to. And along with feeling connected to this person, I can talk to them about anything. And when we talk and we find a place where we are in disagreement, we can find a healthy way to correct one another, right? Not tearing somebody down, not pointing fingers, not blaming, but listening first. And then using your understanding of the person to then correct. Now, this is the part where most of our relationships fall apart because we can't correct each other, not in a healthy way. Either somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right. There is no room for understanding and figuring out, as opposed to right and wrong, maybe it's good and better, right? Maybe your way is good, but my way is better, right? That's where good correction comes in. That's where strong relationships become even stronger. When you realize it's not about right and wrong, it's not black and white, it's 1,000 shades of gray. But if we can correct each other where I can accept your better for our better, now we're ready for part 4, and we're ready to commit. You feel like you should have put a ring on it, right? And commitment comes in all kinds of ways, right? Commitment just means that I know that you are there for me, and you should know that I'm there for you. When we do the next episode, the part 2 that I promise you we will dig deeper into what this looks like, how we can use it, and how we can kind of give each other tests and see where we are in our relationship. But remember, the four-part system of any relationship is: 1, you have to connect; 2, communicate; 3, you have to be able to correct and accept correction; and 4, then you're ready to commit. We're going to put these into practical use in part 2. Thank you for getting this far in part 1. And you know what it is. I rise so that others can rise. Till next time, Rise Coaching.